When he was just a 23-year-old student at Makerere University, Dennis Ouma was involved in a vehicle accident injuring his spine. Ouma can neither walk and needs a wheelchair support.
The resultant effects of a spinal cord injury vary from individual to individual. In my own case, a condition called quadriplegia, which means you're unable to use either your hands or your feet.
According to Ouma, he did not realize he was seriously injured, but after 4 years, the injuries started to catch up with him.
The society needs to know for sure that a spinal cord injury should not be a death sentence. I mentioned earlier that I was injured right after my exams. I could not continue school. I could not continue working at my former place of employment. I was in hospital for about 2 years, struggling to look for the next appropriate rehabilitation, until when really life seemed to me like a hole in hell.
Because of his spinal cord injury, Ouma's life has not been the same. In a bid to create awareness, civil society organization Reach A Hand is supporting people who have suffered spine injuries. James Musime, the country director of Reach A Hand Uganda, says the government of Uganda needs to do more for the people with such disabilities.
To create awareness on spinal cord injury and support persons with spinal cord injuries. In Uganda today, out of all the trauma injuries, approximately 8.8% relate to spinal cord injuries.
Looking at such wheelchairs that are taxable and other needs that people with disabilities really need to come into the country so that most of us can really be covered.
Dora Kanusu, one of the MPs representing people with disabilities, says inclusion is very key.
That also goes for the beds that my sister was asking about. The Person with Disabilities Act is clear about accessible beds for women in hospitals, and I know that they are not there.
We need to think about the needs of people with disabilities, specific to them. And I think that is where the things like assistive devices come in, the wheelchairs. But again, a wheelchair, when I can't get into a workplace, will be of no essence.
People with spinal cord injuries often rely on wheelchairs for movement.
Giving a wheelchair to a person with disability who needs it,
Spinal cord injuries can result from damage of the vertebrae, ligaments, or discs of the spinal column or the spinal cord itself. A traumatic spinal cord injury can stem from a sudden traumatic blow or your spine that fractures, dislocates, crushes, or compresses one or more of your vertebrae. A story compiled by Chris Makula and Shamim Natewa for CTV PM Edition.